What's up, guys? This is Doug with Basement Level Magic, and we're back for another Battle for Zendikar Swiss draft. And it looks like we have opened Drowner of Hope, which is a good card. Sort of puts you into an archetype right away. And something we could definitely consider. The Cloud Manta is a good card. The Dampening Pulse is a good card. Fortified Rampart's okay in the right shell. Nullifier's good, probably in the same deck as the Drowner of Hope. And then if Dampening Pulse came back around, definitely would take that. I don't see anything here that I would rather have than the Drowner of Hope, so we'll go ahead and pick that. Looking at pack 2, kind of similar to the first pack. The Zulaport Cutthroat is an excellent card. Ulamog's Despoiler is pretty good if we're in the blue devoid strategy where we have enough ingest to like fuel it. Cloud Manta is a good safe pick. And Rush of Ice has been growing on me somewhat. I don't think it's a great card, but it's definitely more playable than I thought it was. Blighted Fen is also pretty good, but you have to go into black. Here I think probably we'll just take the Despoiler. It's an uncolored card, keeps us open. So pick 3, we have a couple options again. So we have a good red removal spell. We have 2 pretty decent blue cards and then not much else. So I definitely want to keep cutting blue if we can. I think probably the Cloud Manta is just kind of a vanilla card, whereas the Merch Strider's got a little upside. But then the Cloud Manta has the evasion. There's no guarantee that we have enough ingestion in order to fuel all these processors, so I feel like the Cloud Manta is just the safer pick, so I'm going to go ahead and take that. Tidecaller is also an excellent pick. Benthic Infiltrator is good. Still seeing a lot of good blue, so I'm happy with where we're at there. I think the Tidecaller probably has the most upside, and so I'm probably going to take that. Benthic Infiltrator is one of those ingesters, though, that I've been talking about needing. But we're not 100% in an ingestion processing type deck, and if we end up just in like a white-blue Flyers or something, we'd be much happier to have a Halmar Tidecaller. I'm going to go ahead and take that here. So here we have an Incubator Drone. We could branch out into a second color. There is a couple of decent white cards here. Probably going to continue to just cut blue and see what happens in the next pack. This is the only white flyer that I think we've seen so far. So just because this pack has a bunch of white doesn't necessarily mean that white is open. That being said, I'd hate to put somebody in white if that's where we want to end up, but I think the Incubator Drone is just the best pick for what we have so far. So here we have some serious options. The Ruin Processor is an excellent card, and I would like to have one in the deck. Spell Shrivel, it looks like we're going in a direction where Spell Shrivel is going to be a good card for us, and it exiles. Incubator Drone is awesome, and it works well with the Drowner of Hope. And then Cryptic Cruiser, if we end up with more ingestion, is an excellent card. I think I'm going to take the Spell Shrivel here. We have 5 creatures and no spells. And I think that could easily be debated. I think Cryptic Cruiser is probably a very good choice as well. But I'm going to take the Spell Shrivel. Now I wish I hadn't. Brilliant Spectrum's not something I want to play. Rude Monitor is probably the best of the green Scion makers. And we have seen quite a bit of green going around, but I don't really want to be in green with blue. So I think here I just take another Spell Shrivel. Definitely looks like we're headed towards a more controlling shell, which is the kind of deck that a couple of larger Eldrazi would definitely fit into. Here there's not a good blue pick, and the white pick is okay if you're in the blue-white. Well, to be honest, it's more of a, the allies are more of a red, blue, green, blue type of thing. I think Nettle Drone is probably just the best card here. So I'm going to pick that up. Here we could pick the Cloud Manta for our second one. I think Scour is a fine card, and I would pick one up. They do go late, and I'm not in love with the card. If I have one and nothing else better, I'll play it, but I think Cloud Manta makes the deck, so we'll go with that. Here we'll take the Rush of Ice. Works great with the Halmar Tide color. Not much here that excites me. I'm going to take the Sandstone Bridge just in case. We could end up in white. We just never know. And we could end up in Converge. So I'll take the Brilliant Spectrum. Right now it's, draw 2 cards and then discard 2 cards, which, not all that awesome. Cohort, sure. Skyline Cascade, we probably do play that. And then an Island. So about 10 playables in pack 1, but 9 if you consider that we may not actually be in red. So guess we'll see what we open. Aligned Hedra Network, so that's not something we're going to play. Reasons to go into red in this pack are Rolling Thunder, Touch of the Void. Touch of the Void also having the benefit that it exiles a card. I think Rolling Thunder is probably a stronger card. Retreat to Emeria is also an excellent card, but I'm not sure we currently have like 0 allies, right? Or 1 off-color ally, so I don't think we're going into white. Although it is an excellent card. I think I'm going to take the Rolling Thunder. Sort of commits us to red. So in this pack, the red isn't all that great. The Ondu Champion's fine. It's much better in an ally deck. The Chasm Guide is good. Is a very good card, but again in an ally deck. So we're looking at what's here for blue. Not a whole lot. That another Incubator Drone. Could take the Sunken Hollow to try and splash another color. Makes the Brilliant Spectrum maybe a little better. Or we could pick up probably the Ghostly Sentinel. I think I'm going to go with the Incubator Drone and just try and keep doing what we've been doing. Hope for some better red. Like another Nettle Drone, that'd be great. Sky Spawner versus Nettle Drone. That's tough. That's really tough. I think the Nettle Drone we picked up last time went very late. There's no chance that we pick up an Eldrazi Sky Spawner late. So I believe, yeah, we'll just take the Sky Spawner. Pretty happy about it. So this is Renewal, Grove Tender Druids. Both cards I like. The Vestige of Emrakul is probably the pick here. Our 4-drop slot's getting kind of full. We have nothing currently in the 2-drop slot. Not that that's necessarily a problem in Battle for Zendikar. I do like Dominator Drone, but I think the 2 red cards I have are powerful enough to keep me in red. So we'll go ahead and pick up the Vestige. And I think we're rewarded here. I'll take a Stone Fury. Sorry about that. Anticipate would be okay. Sure Strike would be okay as well. But I think the Stone Fury is probably just what we want. Clutch of Currents, Adverse Conditions, and Outnumber are all good options. I think the Clutch of Currents is probably my favorite. Works well with the Halmar Tide Caller. Adverse Conditions would probably be my second, followed by Outnumber. I'm going to take the Clutch of Currents, though. Probably the Kozilek Sentinel in this in this pack is the best thing for us. I would probably run an Anticipate, but I think for now the Kozilek Sentinel is just probably the best card we have an option to pick up, and it is our first 2-drop, so that's something to take note of as well. I don't know if everyone's been playing Vintage Cube or not. I have not tried it. I tend to stay away from the special cube drafts. I know a lot of people do it just because it gives some diversity to what you've been doing. But I don't, I didn't play in Vintage when a lot of the cards came out, and so I don't know. It doesn't last long enough for me to feel like learning them. Here I pick a Rush of Ice because there's nothing else really great, and again, it works well with the Halmar Tidecaller. Do want to pick up some more creatures though. Yeah, so the cubes I just tend to stay away from. Plus, you don't get any cards out of it, so it's cheaper to do them, but I feel like the payoff is far less. So here we could pick up a Invoker or a Boiling Earth. I think Boiling Earth in most decks is just a sideboard card, where the Valakut Invoker is actually a fine playable card. Maybe better than fine. That's definitely won games for me. There's not much here that I would really consider playing, so I'll take the Ondu Champion in case the body becomes relevant in one of our other games. Same with the Pathway Arrows. It's something I could definitely see sideboarding in against the right deck. I have a Brilliant Spectrum. There's very little chance I play two of them, so I'll take the Retreat. I don't think we're aggressive enough to make it work, but you never know. Sometimes you just play against those decks with the giant toughness creatures, and you just don't have a way to get through. So here we'll take the Royal Mage's Trick. We've got a Hedron Blade and whatever comes around to us last. So being able to make a creature not be able to block, could be relevant where against certain opponents where, the +2/+0 till end of turn is, nice, especially if you have something evasive. But I mean, what would I want to play the Retreat to Valakut over if I had the option of playing a Sky Spawner, a Spell Shrivel, a Tidecaller? I mean, I probably would just want to leave the mana up. Well, this is an interesting pack. So there's not a whole lot here in just pure blue. There is a good red removal spell in the Touch of the Void. Or we could try and splash another color and go into the Royal Spout, which I think is an excellent card. Probably worth it to just stick with what we've been doing. I do think it's an excellent card. We could also consider the Kozilek's Channeler. Currently my removal, though, is pseudo-removal is a Clutch of Currents, 2 Rush of Ice, Stone Fury, Rolling Thunder. I'm not sure I play one or both of the Rush of Ice, though. So I think I'd take the Touch of the Void here. It's tempting, and if that Royal Spout comes back around, there's a good chance I'll take it, because there probably won't be anything else at that point. So here we have an option between Tide Drifter and another Spell Shrivel. Currently, six, seven, eight of our creatures are affected by the Tide Drifter. I think that's plenty. 2 Spell Shrivels is probably plenty too. Here we have an option between another Clutch of Currents, a Ruination Guide. There's nothing in red, which is nice because it makes our decision a little easier. And then there's also a Ruin Processor. This is a tough call. I think the Ruination Guide, again for the same reasons, about 8 of our creatures are affected by it. 9 now because we took the Tide Drifter. But Clutch of Currents is so good. And it affects the lands from the Halmar Tidecaller. That's tough. That is a very tough decision. I think I'm going to take the Clutch. And hopefully I don't regret it. Now I regret it. Alright, between Clutch of Currents and Rush of Ice, I'd much rather play the Clutch of Currents. We could get a second Valakut Invoker or pick up a Valakut Predator. But I think we'll take the Clutch of Currents. I think triple Clutch of Currents is excellent. Here we have a choice between... Again, there's excellent cards if we want to splash into white. Sheer Dropper, Undo Rising. Undo Rising is a card I think is just a blowout. We can also take an Ulamog's Reclaimer, which is a processor, so we don't have much in the way of ingestion. I think probably another Kozilek Sentinel is better. So what do we have currently for ingesting? I think we have like nothing, right? Touch of the Void, technically, exiles, Spell Shrivel exiles. I mean, that's it, right? So I think probably the Kozilek Sentinel is the safer choice. Scatter to the Winds, yeah. I mean, there's nothing here in red that we want, and it's the only real blue card. Just happens to be an excellent one. In this pack, if I had more ingesters, the Ulamog's Nullifier would definitely be something I would be looking at. Since I don't, I think probably the Waving Elemental is where I want to be. It's a card that I underrated for a long time, but I do think it is pretty powerful and can definitely finish games. So I'm happy to pick that up. So we're at 15 creatures and 9 spells. I already have 2 cuts to make. I could play an Adverse Conditions or a Mist Intruder. Mist Intruder would give me some ingestion, which is something I haven't had so far. I think probably the Adverse Conditions is nice, but it's sort of the same thing as our Clutch of Currents, is that we nullify one of our opponent's threats, in this case 2, but we nullify our opponent's threats, and it allows us to get in. I think getting just a little bit of ingest is probably worth it. Alright, now we have to make that decision I was talking about earlier, about possibly splashing for the Royal Spout. I honestly can't believe this card is still here. I don't know what people are playing. I haven't seen anything that was like ridiculous. I'm going to put it in the sideboard and we'll explore our options here in a bit. I could take a Dispel for the sideboard or another Spell Shrivel, which I don't think I can play 3. So I suppose I could take the Looming Spires. Let's take the Looming Spires. Now there's like more Spell Shrivels in this than I've ever seen in one draft. I've passed at least 2 as well now, so this is like the 5th one we've seen. I have 1 Skyline Cascade, Looming Spires. I suppose I want the Skyline Cascade. I'll take another Invoker. He might actually make the deck. It's a 2/3. Take the Anticipate. I mean, I guess if we played all the Spell Shrivels and then, had the Anticipate in there as well to go find some counter magic, that would make sense. Definitely a very controlling shell. We just got to make sure we have enough ways in the deck to win the game. But as it stands, we need to make some cuts. Like 4 cuts. I don't know. 17 creatures is probably too many. So we'll just have to see. In the Drowner of Hope, we tap a target creature by sacrificing a Scion. So I don't really want to cut like the Incubator drones have a lot of extra value. Definitely not cutting a Sky Spawner. And look at the creatures separately. So 17 creatures currently. We've got really 3 kind of finishers, but we top out at 7 mana. We've got 3 Clutch of Currents, 1 Scatter, which its Awaken is only at 6 mana. That's not a ton. Touch. I could honestly see cutting the Mist Intruder, but I would like to try and at least cast Ulamog's Despoiler for as a 9/9, occasionally. The Kozilek Sentinel is an excellent blocker on the ground while we try to get our other things going. It's a very tempo-y deck. And we can make it even more tempo-y if we wanted to. Yeah, 4 cuts is a lot. I can't cut anything on the top end. I'm not going to cut a Stone Fury or a Rolling Thunder. They're kind of my best removal for like larger things. I could see maybe cutting a Cloud Manta. I could see cutting 1 Valakut Invoker. I mean, you can only activate 1 anyway. I could see cutting maybe a Kozilek Sentinel. Oh, that seems, I don't know. That seems greedy. The Tide Caller I definitely want to keep with all of these Clutch of Currents and the Scatter. It's definitely better if we play the Rush of Ice, though. It's just awkward that the Clutch of Currents and the Rush of Ice have the same awaken cost. They both make a 3/3. Perhaps 3 Clutch of Currents is too many. I could see cutting also a Spell Shrivel, since we have Scatter, which is a little bit harder removal. I'm going to cut an Incubator Drone, a Spell Shrivel, and what else? One more card. Could cut 1 Clutch, but it's just so good. The Tide Drifter and Kozilek Sentinel makes them 1/5s. It's pretty amazing. 2/5s if you casted Sentinel first and then attack. Yeah, this is tough. I guess we could take out the Waveling Elemental as well. So we have X plus 3 damage that we can go to the face with as well. But if I take out like Waveling Elemental, like what creatures are really attacking? I mean, the Cloud Mantas, maybe the Nettle Drone, and we definitely have ways to get things out of the way so the Nettle Drone can get in. But we want to make sure we have time. Gee, this is a tough cut. So what doesn't fit with what we're trying to do here? We're trying to play a long game based on what we see here. We're trying to tempo our opponent out to get to some of our bigger threats. We tap down the things that they play or return them to their hand. And then we have the option to fly over top. So what doesn't fit in that? I mean, Nettle Drone is just good anyway. The Howler Tidecaller makes all of our Clutch of Currents better. Sky Spawner's just good and evasive and creates a Scion. I can't cut that. I guess I could see cutting, since we already have a 0/5 and 2 1/4s, I guess I could see cutting a Sentinel. We're susceptible to any very aggressive deck, though. But let's just see what we get. Primarily blue, but have 2 double-costed red spells. Wants us to go 6/9. I think that's pretty good. We want one mountain early, but we don't really need two till later in the game. So go ahead and go with that. Well, thanks for watching, guys. This has been Doug with Basement Level Magic. We'll be back for the matches here shortly.